Let's see what's in the papers today. Still no signings for Arsenal. Newcastle, what's this? Hang about. Newcastle make U-turn on Bruno Guimaraes to Arsenal stance. They are not going to stand in his way. That's music to my ears. And again, I think I speak for every Arsenal fan. It's the same old names. It's the same old things being reiterated. I think we're all at the point with, yes, we don't know everything that's going on in the world of football, but we're all at the stage. Bids need to be officially made and bids need to be accepted or rejected, people. So yeah, I urge patience, but ain't really nothing in it, really. Newcastle will allow Bruno Guimaraes to join Arsenal if the Gunners submit a satisfactory offer, according to reports. Anyone got news there? Arsenal are looking for quality over quantity this summer after being crowned Premier League champions last term and reaching the Champions League final. Morgan Rogers went to Chelsea. We were not prepared to match what they were offering. What has Ben Jacobs said? Arsenal plan to bid again for Bruno Guimaraes as reported this morning. Although Newcastle denied direct formal talks to date, Arsenal are accelerating their interest. Last offer via intermediaries was as high as 65 million. Arsenal expected to go north of 70 million, and broad terms are already in place with Guimaraes. Newcastle sources insist they want to keep Guimaraes. One other Premier League side has made a recent inquiry as well on the player side. I bet you that's Chelsea. Arsenal accelerating their pursuit of Guimaraes as reported this morning. However, this could still not be enough as Newcastle are reportedly looking for 100 million, and Daily Telegraph reporter, who's a bit of a twat actually, Luke Edwards, insisted on Tuesday that the Geordies were mystified by claims of club-to-club talks. Again, we covered this yesterday, but senior sources at Newcastle are mystified by claims Arsenal open club-to-club talks over the signing of Bruno Guimaraes. They've not heard from anyone involved about a potential deal for more than a week. Newcastle's stance remains the same, and they will not lower their valuation. They do not welcome a bid. They do not welcome a bid and will inform Arsenal of their stance if they try to open club-to-club talks. They may well try to do so, but nothing has changed at 12:14 on Tuesday, people. Now Arsenal have seen a bit of light at the end of the tunnel, according to Court of Side, who are reporting that the Gunners may have been handed a boost as Newcastle work on a Guimaraes replacement in Hugo Larsson. Any midfielder that's linked to Newcastle, whether it's him, Danilo, there's someone else, Bergvall, Spurs, people are going to add 2 + 2 and think, rah, is that a replacement for Bruno Guimaraes? Where they could have just been trying to add a midfielder anyways. Obviously, they've also lost Tonali, so it might be more of a Tonali replacement. Despite what's being reported, Arsenal are really pushing for Guimaraes, and Newcastle recognize the player also wants to go. As long as the price is right, they'll not stand in his way, people. So I don't think we've learned anything here new here. Is this the same article? No, it's not. Bruno Guimaraes given Newcastle return date as Arsenal learn transfer timeline. Newcastle expect him to go back to work in early August. Obviously participated at the World Cup. So again, it's staggered returns for a lot of players across the league or leagues for such people. So we ain't learned anything there. They expect him, and he's contractually obliged to be there in preseason, and it's within his. He needs to do that, people. Apparently, United, Newcastle Chiefs, are growing tired of leaks at Arsenal's end on Bruno, but Newcastle's stance remains they do not want to sell the Brazil star. If Bruno hands in a transfer request, which he hasn't so far, Newcastle would then take on the role of tough negotiators and would hold out for a fee closer to 100 mil rather than the initial fees banded around by the Arsenal end as low as an initial 45 to 60 million. He's got 2 years left on his contract. Newcastle could trigger a further year. So essentially, he's got 2 official years, but it's really a 3-year deal. They're desperate to avoid any kind of standoff like with Isaac. I don't think Bruno Guimaraes is going to do that. High-placed sources have insisted to the Chronicle Live that Newcastle are under no pressure to sell Bruno, and Arsenal face a fight to sign the player. The suggestion from the Emirates Stadium is that Arsenal have set price valuations on all targets and won't budge on what they deem a fair price tag. Hence why they're going to step back from Morgan Rogers. Newcastle Chiefs won't be daunted if Arsenal threaten to shut the door on their interest in Bruno because they don't want to sell anyways. Whether Bruno pulls on a black and white shirt for the clash with Valencia at the Messiah or 4 days later at Murrayfield against Everton remains to be seen. Moving on from that, Arsenal are closing in on their 3rd summer signing as Zolis arrives in London. Hincapie's deal's been made permanently. Millier's come through the door. And you could say the young Elijah Upson, son of Matthew Upson, for our under-18 side and 21s. Well, 21s and under-19s, because I think he's eligible to play in the youth league. Big up Zolis. Obviously, we've spoken about him at length. The Premier League champions have held interest in Bradley Bacola, Julian Alvarez, Ellie Krupi Jr., Nico Williams, Yan Diomande. We have a decision to make in terms of bringing in a defender where William Saliba's potential sidelines concerned. We have been linked with England duo Ezri Konza and obviously John Stones in recent days, people. Alex Scott has no plans to sign a new contract at Bournemouth. Chelsea have made a bid, it got rejected. Arsenal apparently have been sniffing around, as well as Man United. As it says here, people, it's understood that Arsenal and Chelsea have both indicated informal interest in Scott, though no formal approaches have been made. Bournemouth have received no encouragement that the midfielder will commit his future to the club by agreeing a new deal. And apparently there's been an offer on the table from April/March, and he's made no willingness to sign that, people. 2.5 years left on his contract. And he actually spent time at Bournemouth as an academy prospect, but he joined them, I believe, from Bristol in a £25 million deal 3 years ago. So it's fair to say he's done all right, people. We got to remember Bournemouth are in the Europa League. They're in Europe for the first time in their history. This is just reiterating what we saw with Stones. What's this? Spurs have reportedly made a breakthrough to move ahead of Arsenal in the race to sign Isaac Allen. You know what? Yeah, Arsenal actually been trying to recruit a number of the under 15s, under 16s people. We've obviously lost a couple. And, you know, I'm talking about like, I say the word elite subjectively, but people that are in the England youth side. And we've been knocked back quite a lot, if I'm completely honest with you, in our pursuit. We've lost a couple. We've struggled to bring a couple of in. Seems like Isaac Allen is going to pick Spurs for whatever reason. Go do your thing, people. But it's just further confirmation we need to get a move on, people. As you know, Arsenal are standing firm on, you know, Fabio Vieira's valuation. Apparently, we're refusing to sell him for less than 20 million euros. Hamburg are unwilling to offer over 10 million euros. What happened to the Nottingham Forest interest? Maybe with Millier, sorry, not Millier. What's the guy, man? Crystal Palace manager, man. Gautier, I can't remember his name for the. He's a very good manager, but can't remember his name, man. The ex Crystal Palace manager. Maybe with him coming in, they're changing their things. But apparently, someone at Hamburg said Fabio is a fantastic player. We feel like we're fighting for him every single day. We've also backed up our interest with Arsenal with financial figures. The situation is well known, but right now, no one's flinching. So it's a game of poker. We're confident we can make Fabio a very competitive offer within our means without taking on any debt. We're naturally very cautious to see whether he and Arsenal will accept it. We fell a little bit in love with Fabio last year, but we're not going to be unreasonable. If Arsenal say yes, we'll be happy to have Fabio. If they say no, we'll be happy to have someone else. He's contracted until 2027, so he's got a year left on his deal, people. And the Gunners are naturally under pressure. You know, him and Reece Nelson. Reece Nelson, who's been linked with a couple of Spanish clubs, got a year left on their deal. So we might as well just flog them. Him, Jesus, Reece Nelson, just get them gone, man. I'm not going to read this, but any of you having Rafa Leao, he could be available for 45 million euros, and he's been linked with Aston Villa, although they're still being linked with Nicholas Jackson and Garnacho. And that's probably the highlight of my summer transfer window so far, knowing that we will not be the ones to shop in Chelsea's bins and go and get Garnacho. Ben Jacobs, again, everybody saying the same old stuff with Alvarez. I have little to no patience or time or care to talk about this with you lot, people. But for my subscribers and viewers, smash the like button, I will. Alvarez is a dream target for Arsenal. His release clause is 500 million euros. But my information is that there are provisions for certain Premier League clubs to do it cheaper. Sorry, Champions League clubs to do it cheaper. But cheaper is still probably out of the price range of all clubs. Even if it was in and around 150 million euros, under set provisions, you've got to pay the taxes as well, which is why nobody is really looking at triggering the release clause. But Andrea Berta will know the ins and outs of that deal because he brought him to Atletico. Maybe Alvarez stays at Atletico. Maybe Barca come back in. But don't rule out Arsenal. If there's a 1% chance of Alvarez moving to the Emirates Stadium, Arsenal will move. Okay, that they can move, but it doesn't move me because you can go for players. But ultimately, if you're empty-handed, it doesn't help us. Yan Diomande has been discussed at Arsenal, but the challenge is they want a left-sided winger, and Diomande wants to play primarily on the right. You've seen or heard or whatever reported with Liverpool struggles to get him, PSG struggles to get him. We've probably scouted him and we're probably having admiration, but didn't get Morgan Rogers, can only link us with Bacola so many times a day. You're going to throw other names into it. Arsenal had gone to Aston Villa to inquire on Konza, but the two clubs have got a huge gulf in valuation. My information is Villa thought the approach was quite insulting, even though I'm not sure we can term it formal, certainly not a written bid. So it just feels like we're pissing about. Arsenal are pushing hard to sign Milo Bernard, 16. The player's contract at Crystal Palace ended last month. However, they have also offered improved terms. So we're trying to recruit at youth level. Anyone having Charles de Ketelaere, I can't say his name, former AC Milan man, was at Atalanta. Belgium's tournament was disappointing, but him and Trossard covered themselves with a lot of glory. I wouldn't be against it. Versatile, technically proficient, has had good and bad moments. Wouldn't be against it. Apparently, he's drawing appreciation from Chelsea. So is any one of you taking a chance? And in terms of youth and Wonder Kids and all of that, can't verify anything around this youth because I've never watched him. But anything out of Brazil, my antennas are up. Arsenal are monitoring Flamengo Wonder Kid Juan Pavuna. The Gunners have presented their long-term project to the player's family as they look to build an early relationship. No clue on how old he is. I assume 15, 16. He can't move and join Arsenal until he's 18, as you've seen with a couple of talents that we've already recruited.